Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
I'm a wanderer on life's highway. I'm not one of that great legion with their trouble and care. And though I haven't much religion, here's my only prayer. Give me the road, the wide winding highway, just let me know.
The great Dean Martin singing a vagabond song. There is nobody... Well, I don't want to say there's nobody. There's nobody that I enjoy listening to more talk about that era of entertainment and show business than Elliot Gordon. If you've not heard Elliot Gordon before, either on the radio with me or in person somewhere, you are in for a treat because he's an entrepreneur. He's a former aide to Mayor Giuliani. He's a producer, a talent agent, a storyteller, and a man with a gift for preserving nostalgia, the likes of which I have not seen since my friend Joe Franklin. Very pleased to welcome back to the program, Elliot Gordon. Hello, Elliot.
Frank, it's great to be here with you and your audience as always. It's always exciting. It's always electrifying. And it's a pleasure to be on the radio with you.
Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate you saying that. You know, I mentioned Joe Franklin, and I'm sure I've asked you about this either on the air or off, but I'm suffering more senior moments these days than I care to admit. Did you know Joe much?
Very well. Joe and I sometimes would talk 3 or 4 times a week. And what a lot of people don't know, Joe was really very successful with that radio and TV show where there were times with syndication. He told me he was earning $10,000 to $15,000 a week at one time. He was the first host of the daytime ABC talk show locally here in New York. Mm-hmm. When it was really an experiment, and he told me his producer at the time was a man named Telly Savalas.
Oh, you know, and back when he was doing that show on Channel 7, started in 1951, WABC, which is what it's called now, wasn't even WABC, it was WJZ. He started at WJZ TV, and his producer, he claimed, was Telly Savalas, the Telly Savalas, right?
Yes, and the funny part, well, maybe it was, I thought it was kind of funny, but Telly Savalas' index finger apparently was cut off for some reason. He only had like half an index finger on one hand, so when he would hold his hand up for Joe, you got 5 minutes left. Joe always thought it was 4.5. He never really had...
You know, I thought I'd heard every Joe Franklin story. I had not heard, he had not shared that one with me.
Wait a minute, I'm going to give you a bigger one now. People don't realize that Joe Franklin was involved with the peace process between Israel and Egypt. And this is a true story. Very quickly, a man I worked for and produced this TV show is a man named Leon Charney. And Leon was the negotiator at the original Camp David, working between President Carter and Prime Minister Begin to get that peace treaty with Israel in the late 1970s. And when I asked Leon how he got involved, he said, during the Yom Kippur War in 1973, I felt I had to be out there just to see what was going on. Leon was not involved with media. He was with real estate. I said, well, how did you get to the front lines of that war? He said, Joe Franklin, who had the radio show, gave him a press pass that he was representing his program, and that got him through to the front lines of the Yom Kippur War in 73, and he felt he had to be involved here. And then in 77, he was the negotiator for that treaty.
That's incredible! Wow, I that's another one I hadn't heard. That is, I'm glad I asked, because that's a story that I would not have known had you not mentioned that. All right, at 30 minutes after the hour, you're listening to The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is the one and only Elliott Gordon. Elliott, it was on this day in 1996 that rapper Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead. A lot of people have never bought that he was actually killed. Some people think he's still alive to this day. Where do you stand on this one, Elliott? Tupac Shakur, alive or dead?
Well, I think you'll have to check with Elvis.
Duly noted. Fair enough. All right. One of the reasons that I was eager to have you on, Elliott, is because in the current era that we're in politically and media-wise these days, it strikes me as everyone is just so angry, and there's just so much polarization and toxicity. And so I was really struck by this actually on September 11th, when President Trump and President Biden and Vice President Harris were all together at the September 11th memorial at the World Trade Center. And there was a very rare photo of all four of them, including J.D. Vance, shaking hands and being nice to one another. And the reason that I think a lot of other Americans really was drawn to this photo is because it's so rare these days. It's so rare to see two people that may disagree politically, or two people that may even be running against one another, exercising just moderate decorum and politeness to one another. It wasn't always that way, was it, Elliott?
No, it wasn't. And, Frank, I agree with you 100%. The word is called civility. And, it's understandable. It's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay to really enthusiastically pursue your goals against your opponent. But it's gotten to a point where everybody's entering conversations with clenched fists. And we can't keep taking ourselves so seriously. And when I do my presentations over the last few weeks, I've been including in my presentations to my audience saying, hey, there was a time years ago when the political people and the comedians had common ground and they could kid each other, not with a vindictiveness or with an edginess. I think the right word would be they could spritz each other. They could have fun. And I had a clip, and I always talk about it. Years ago, the most famous man in comedy in America was Bob Hope. And when the Friars Club was doing a roast, they happened to bring down one night the man who at the time was the governor of California, although he was leaving at the time to go on to bigger and better things, which was Ronald Reagan. And he comes down and he's got a couple of one-liners for Bob Hope. It's all done with affection. It's all done with fun, and you could see none of these guys take themselves so seriously. Have a conversation. We could disagree. There's no reason we can't be friends, get together, have a drink, have a slice of pizza, and go on with our lives. And it's not that way today, Frank. It was that way then. We've got to get back to the past.
By the way, and I'm going to play this Reagan Bob Hope clip that you alluded to in a second. When do you think that changed?
That is a very, very good question. I would say really not that long ago. I don't remember the Clinton-Bush campaigns being vicious. They were enthusiastic. They were tough. I don't remember them being vicious, and I think it may have started with the Clinton Trump campaign. I think that's a possibility. So I would say probably within the last 6 or 7 years. But Frank, it shows a deterioration in our society in general.
Yeah,
we can't be so upset. We can't lose friends because you like the Yankees and I like the Mets. We got to let go.
Couldn't agree with you more. If you're just tuning in, I'm Frank Morano. This is The Other Side of Midnight, talking with Elliot Gordon. Here is Ronald Reagan, the outgoing governor of California, giving the business to his old show business colleague, Bob Hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, the governor of California, the Honorable Ronald Reagan. Thank you. Thank you, Dean. I was a little surprised when I was asked to be here tonight to honor Bob Hope. Well, surprised isn't exactly the right word. Annoyed. I've got a lot of important decisions to make in the next several weeks. Like, do I go with Beacons or stick with U-Haul? In accepting this invitation, I don't want the taxpayers to think that I'd make a special trip down here just to be on this program. Now, that would be frivolous. I just happened to be in town anyway for something really important. A guest shot on Hollywood Squares. Seriously, Bob would do well in politics. He certainly has to be one of the most familiar faces in America. He's entertained over 10 million troops and seen by more than 100 million TV viewers. And if you throw in the 27 people who've seen his movies, you have a pretty sizable constituency. Of course, I'm the last one to criticize somebody's movie career. I've had a few disasters myself. I don't criticize governors either. Bob Hope is a man of remarkable accomplishments. He's been America's most favored comedian at a time when America was in her most bewildered state of mind. He's entertained 6 presidents. He's performed for 12. Seriously, Bob, I know that over the years you've received many tributes and awards, and it gives me great pleasure to tell you that in honor of this occasion, the state legislature has unanimously passed a bill naming you California's foremost citizen. I vetoed it.
Pretty good, Elliot, pretty good. And it's not the kind of thing I can see Gavin Newsom doing these days.
Frank, wouldn't it be great if they could just say, hey, let's agree to disagree, but we could kid each other. We don't take ourselves so seriously.
Experience a progressive lens engineered with AI from Essilor, powered by individual measurements of your visual behavior. A lens personalized to you by an Essilor expert. Discover Verilux XR Track and enjoy instantly sharp vision in motion and seamless transitions from near to far. Find your local Essilor expert today at Essilor.com.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel or that white chocolate mocha. Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
This episode is brought to you by Hulu, presenting Paradise. Paradise is Hulu's critically acclaimed addictive drama series, starring Sterling K. Brown, Julianne Nicholson, and James Marsden. The Daily Beast calls Paradise your next TV obsession, and the New York Times says it's exhilarating in all the right ways. Paradise is for your Emmy consideration in all categories, including Outstanding Drama Series. For more information, visit fyc.hulu.com.
No doubt about it. I mean, I guess what some people would say, though, is that, Reagan wasn't joking around that way with Jimmy Carter. He was doing it with an old show business pal. And maybe, maybe that's not necessarily the best example of people able to put their political differences aside because, for all we know, Hope and Reagan, not that Bob Hope made a big deal of advertising his politics, but Hope and Reagan might have agreed on a lot of stuff.
Well, they probably did, and you're right. The truth is Ronald Reagan did come out of Hollywood, and I remember Bob Hope had a great line before Reagan actually officially declared he was running for president. Bob Hope once said Ronald Reagan just got back from visiting 31 states to tell everybody he's not running. So he always had that kibitz there. He always had that. They did have that relationship. But now the comedians, they're coming out and they're just cutting everybody up, and it's not funny. There's an anger there that years ago the political people and the comedy people it just didn't have. And the best part about it, when I would watch Johnny Carson, is while he would hit all the political people, you never knew who he was voting for. And that was the best part of all.
Yeah, well said, well said. If people have not seen any of Elliott Gordon's live performances in person, you really should check it out. In fact, there's one on November 14th, which we're going to tell you about in a moment, that I highly recommend that you check out. But Elliot, I know you've been doing a lot of shows for people in memory care. I would think that that's basically Alzheimer's units. I would think that that's something of a challenge, because I would think a lot of these folks that you're performing before can't necessarily reminisce the way that someone who's not afflicted with cognitive decline can. How do those shows work?
Well, Frank, you're absolutely right. Now, my mother had Alzheimer's about 20 years ago, and I was her primary caregiver. And so I have a feel for what they go through, that they really can't, in many cases, hold on to a thought more than for a few seconds, although there are different people on different levels. Alzheimer's, dementia, memory care, as far as I'm concerned, it seems to be all the same. So when I would do these presentations, or when I do my presentations for what they call the independent living or assisted living, and many of these communities are extremely fancy living facilities, is they've requested me, hey, can you take a shot with the memory care? And I said, well, I understand them because of me being a primary care years ago for my mother. And I said, let me take a shot. And when I found out that music, but a specific type of music, that very rhythmic, late 50s, early mid-60s rock and roll had an incredible effect on them. If I would put on the Temptations or the Supremes or Aretha, with that heavy rhythmic pulsation, that not only would they be snapping their fingers and tapping their feet, and in many cases it wasn't just Alzheimer's people, it was stroke victims who weren't talking, but after a few minutes of that music, one of them looked at me and said, "More Elvis." Wow. And I was blown away how deep this music was reaching them. So I said, I'm going to do a little research. And I did research it on the internet, and it says those rhythmic pulsations affect the joy sensors in the cerebral cortex. And once you do that, that's one stage. The second stage would be the visual. So if I'm playing some Temptations or Supremes or Aretha, and some of the people who work there start tapping their fingers and, snapping their fingers and dancing around, just because the music is so good, it creates a visual around those residents, which brings them to the next level. And then I'll go over and work one-on-one with them. Hey, guys, let's put hands up and do the wave like we're at the football game, or let's kind of like move the shoulders like we're twisting. And that'll take it to the third level. And I just bowled over by the ability at that point for them to interact. Some of them stand up from their wheelchairs and start doing a little bit of a dance. Others actually come to the front of the room if they're not wheelchair bound, and they start dancing with me. And, it's just fascinating. I happen to trip onto it, and now more and more of my accounts are saying, hey, We'd also like to hire you to come in and do your dance party for Alzheimer's patients. And to see the smiles on their faces, and it's only temporary, but to realize that I'm getting some type of joy into these folks in their darkest hours with the magic of music. You can't just play an hour of the Beatles. That won't work. You got to mix it up. You got to be interactive with them. And it can be very, very rewarding.
This is an example of a song. This is The Temptations, who you referenced. This is an example of a song that apparently Alzheimer's patients might respond pretty well to. Let's listen. So the Temptations always get them, Elliot, whether they're afflicted with Alzheimer's or not.
It's amazing. That song is magic. When I put that on, the people who are working there, Frank, when you hear that song, you can't. You automatically want to stop snapping your fingers. It's got that beat. And when the other workers or people there working in the room start dancing and moving to it, it has that magical effect on the Alzheimer's and memory care residents. And then I'll work with them one-on-one, and they are dancing. If they're not wheelchair bound, they will walk to the front and start dancing with me. And it's wild. And doctors in these facilities have come over to me, and they say the best part about reaching them with this music is that there are no side effects.
Well, I love hearing that. That is great. All right. If you are in the New York area, you can absolutely see Elliott Gordon firsthand in person at the Park East Synagogue on November 14th. I'm going to be on hand as well. I'm looking forward to being there. If folks want to see us, Elliot, where can they go to learn more?
Simple. They just Google Frank Morano, Elliott Gordon. It'll take them right to a page that'll explain everything. And even if they're not in the New York area, they could purchase a ticket, and I'll send them a link on Zoom. Frank, we've already sold tickets to people who are your listeners as far away as Australia. I got somebody contacted me. I said, you buy the ticket, you get a Zoom link, and we're going to do this thing so anybody could be part of it anywhere in the world.
That's absolutely terrific. And Elliot, if folks want to get in touch with you, if they want to invite you to perform at an elder care facility or anywhere else, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, they could be Facebook or just look me up on Facebook. But now I'm doing a lot more theaters. I'm doing private events. So while I still do the senior communities, my audience has gotten younger, and I'm actually going into theaters as a ticket seller to show them, hey, comedy from the past could be even funnier than the guys today. Just look me up on Facebook.
All right, Elliott Gordon, 2 L's, 2 T's. And again, if you want to see Elliot and me, November 14th, just go to Google and type Elliott Gordon and Frank Morano. Elliot, it's always a treat to talk to you, my friend. We'll chat with you again soon.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too, my friend. Elliott Gordon. If you want to comment on any portion of our conversation, feel free to do so. 646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635.